I want to jump gears here a little bit. I talked a little bit about what these different bacteria. These are really just 6 strains of bacteria. And if you turn to the very back, you can see it, the last 2 pages of the handout. I've kind of had this out here because this is kind of important stuff. And why is it important? Well, if you get back to, I'll say, I left the superintendent in 1980. But basically, a lot of things, a lot of water's passed over the dam since then. But basically what it boils down to, what you find is that in the soil, you have all these different genus and all these different species, but these different bacteria bring a dimension. Bacillus helps with photosynthesis. It's an antifungal material. It helps with growth regulation in your plant. Pseudomonas actually improves environmental stress, whether it's too hot, too cold. Helps with that ISR is induced systemic resistance. That, I don't know if I know Vargas was doing some things on that, but basically that's a trigger within a plant to fight off problems. So basically, if you go through this and you can read it yourself, the biological aspect of the soil helps with overall plant health besides delivering the nutrients to the plant. Now, the next slide is really what I have commissioned a new study. I started out with lawn care first, but basically what it boils down to, if you, and I use more of the trade names, but or pesticide names, but basically if you look at the products that we use, what you're going to see is that the S stands for the bacteria can sustain the application of those materials. The X indicates that within 72 hours after that application, they're nuked out of the soil. So basically what you're looking at is, if you go back to the other page, all of a sudden we are now not only taking the care of the mechanism to deliver our nutrients, we're also taking away from the system the mechanisms to solve a lot of the things that we apply pesticides for. My whole point of this is that as an industry, we need to use those tools, but use them a little more judiciously. But when you start looking at just some of the common ones we do for broadleaf weed controls, if you go over to the last 2 columns, the streptomycin and the azobacter, basically those are so important to really nutrient management, from phosphorus solubility. So now I'm in Minnesota, I'm in New York, and who knows, it could be coming to Illinois next year. Now I'm on a zero phos state, I can't use any phosphorus. I'm nuking this mechanism within the soil that's solubilizing that phosphorus for me. How am I going to drive ATP to ADP, which is the energy transfer system that drives the whole photosynthesis process? So basically, just to kind of bring this down, what it boils down to, a lot of the, whether we're going off for grub control, pre-emergent, you've got prodiamine on there, and you've got dimension on there. So basically what you're looking at, we're using products that are damaging that system. Not to say we can't use the product, but it goes back to the premise I'm saying earlier, is what are we doing biologically to enhance that, to overcome what we're doing here? Because if we overcome it, we got the benefit of both. To answer your question, I'm going to be coming out with a product called Soil MD. It's a sprayable liquid that, again, you can put it in any tank, and basically it brings kelp, yucca, humic acid, carbohydrates, and again, it's going to be a low cost material that you can put in with anything to help overcome this. Step 2 is I'm going to look at all our fungicides. I'm looking at some of the common fungicides. Why is that important? You're spending important dollars to manage your turf. And if you're messing up, if you're mucking up the mechanisms that deliver your nutrients and mucking up the systems that keep your plant healthy, you're kind of in a what I call moving in the wrong direction. And I think that's why, again, you're finding a lot more turf damage from diseases and that we're seeing.